Good evening, President O'Brien, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Finch, and special guests. Tonight's awards presentation continues to look a little bit different. Social distancing is still being practiced as we will continue to refrain from handshaking. Honorees, after we read about your award, please come forward, pick up your certificate and extraordinary DVUSD logo pin on the table to my right. You will then proceed up the stairs for a photo with the Governing Board and Superintendent. We have a lot of amazing awards tonight. Yay! We begin with our extraordinary students of Barry Goldwater High School Culinary Program. BGHS students captured first and second place at this year's Arizona ProStart Invitational. ProStart is a nationwide 2-year high school program that reaches about 130,000 students in more than 1,700 high schools across the country in partnership with the National Restaurant Association. Our second place team wowed the judges by creating a delicious menu of mascarpone date and pistachio crostini drizzled with lemon oil, gnocchi and shrimp with garlic truffle cream, and strawberry cream straws with dark chocolate sauce and fresh strawberry. Congratulations to the second place finishers, Erica Hunsaker, Kai Allen, and Luis Aguirre. And unfortunately, Kai and Luis couldn't be here tonight, so Erica is holding down the fort. I'm also going to take this. All right. Erica, stay close. All right, we're going to do a group photo at the end, so we'll have you come back up, Erica, with your chefs. All right, so if you're wondering if that was second place, what did our first place team do to stun the judges, capture the championship, and punch their ticket for a trip to the national competition? Well, the champion team created a 3-course meal that sounds truly extraordinary. Seared scallops with avocado basil mousse, duck 2 ways with cherry balsamic sauce, and for dessert, hazelnut espresso tart. Congratulations to the first place team from Barry Goldwater High School, Alexis Galit, Gracie Kealili, Jacob Peterson, and Ember Chrysalis Phelps. We've got a kitchen back here since you guys are dressed. I mean, we're going to be here all night, so. All right, so we'll have our second place team and our chef come on up. All right. Congratulations and good luck at Nationals. right, next up, Mountain Ridge High School senior Salil Naik has been selected as one of 5 Arizona nominees for the 21-22 U.S. Presidential Scholars in Career and Technical Education. Salil was selected based on evidence of academic rigor, technical competence, professional employability skills, ingenuity, and creativity. Here to share more about the award is Deputy Associate Superintendent and State Director of Career and Technical Education, Kathy Raymond.
Thank you. President O'Brien, members of the board, Superintendent Finch, and special guest. There were 45 applicants across the state of Arizona this year, and only 5 were selected to go on to the national awards. While I read Salil Naik's application, I was blown away. He is the epitome of a CTE student and a scholar, and we're so proud of him. I usually try to condense their application essays, and it's really hard to do. So bear with me. I'm going to read just a few of the amazing things that Salil has done. He's held many leadership positions in various organizations, including DECA, Future Business Leaders of America, Model United Nations, National Honor Society, Robotics Club, and the Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission. As the Vice President of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission, he has the responsibility to lead a talented group of high schoolers to help the community and make his city a better place, one volunteer hour at a time. He works with a team of other officers to plan volunteer events and seek out new opportunities to give back to the community. All through high school, Salil has maintained an unweighted 4.0 GPA, which means he's never gotten less than an A. He has a weighted GPA of 4.78 and is ranked number 1 in his class. He has taken 10 AP tests and plans on taking 4 more this year. He passed all AP tests, earning college credit in many academic subjects. He earned a score of 5 on half of those. Because of these achievements, he was given the AP Scholar with Distinction Award. Also, he received a score of 36 on the ACT, a perfect score, and because of this, he was given the national honor. He was given the national honor of becoming a 36er. His work-based experience was through a computer science internship at Optum United Health Group. This internship was in the topic area of computer science. Salil stated, "This internship taught me more about computer science as I got hands-on experience with the design process and professional working strategies." Salil has also participated and placed in various events in CTSO skill competitions. In the past year alone in FBLA, he won first place at state in computer applications, computer problem solving, and networking infrastructure, and placed second in coding and programming. He also participated in DECA and last year and won his first place at state automotive services marketing and went on to finalize at nationals. He is the vice president of his FBLA chapter and the vice president of career development of his school's DECA chapter. He formed the coding club at his school when he noticed that there wasn't any means for those interested in coding to come together and collaborate. So he helped spearhead the initiative to create the club. He is currently working towards earning the Amazon Web Services Cloud Developer Certification, which is recognized by almost all companies in the technology industry. Also, as mentioned before, he's taken AP tests for Computer Science Principles, Computer Science A, and received a 5 on both tests, giving him college credits in both of these CTE courses. Finally, he passed the Arizona Skills Assessment for Marketing and Computer Science. And due to all this experience and recognition, Salil strongly believes he's qualified in both his target profession of computer science as well as marketing. He is constantly thinking of new ways to solve today's problems or new inventions to make life a bit easier. He created an app called Hourly, with a capital Y. The app helps a person manage their time while studying to most effectively learn the material in as little time as possible. It includes a machine learning algorithm to adjust the timings to fit each person and their learning style. He submitted this app to the Congressional App Challenge, a competition held by the House of Representatives. He ended up winning and was recognized for his achievements by the representative for his district. Additionally, he has created other ideas for products. One of them, which he is currently working on, is an app called Coffee House. It will be an idea-sharing platform where users can spread their ideas for inventions, stories, programs, and almost everything else. The app will then connect them with those who have those skills to fulfill that idea. As you can see, very amazing. So, Salil, on behalf of the Department of Education and Superintendent Kathy Hoffman, if you come forward, I'd like to present you with our certificate and a trophy.
Oh, our next awards feature two of our most extraordinary DVUSD schools, identified and honored as exemplary schools within the state of Arizona by the Arizona Educational Foundation, or AEF. The A+ School of Excellence Award is the highest state level any Arizona public school can receive. This year, two DVUSD schools received this honor, and tonight we will celebrate one of them. Please help me congratulate our A+ School of Excellence Principal, Dr. Janet Gilbert, and Mountain Shadows Elementary School. If they can unveil it, then they become a school of excellence. It's like the test. It's very new. Kayla, do you want to do one without the banner? Yeah, let's do one without the banner as well. So we've got a couple options. Sorry. I know. We got the banner. Yeah, yeah. We'll come to your school and take a photo of the banner too. Are we good? Congratulations, Mountain Shadows. Woo, 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 woo. All right, and we will have more publicity, media, social media on Mountain Shadows as they celebrate their A+ later this spring. And we have another school that also received their A+ School of Excellence, West Wing, and we're going to celebrate with them at our next governing board meeting. Woo woo! DVUSD is honored that a member of our team has been selected and appointed to serve on the Phoenix Arts and Culture Commission. After a rigorous review and selection process, DVUSD Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Specialist for Fine Arts, Anna Beckstrom, was appointed to serve on the City of Phoenix Arts and Culture Commission, which serves as an advisory board to the Mayor and City Council, City Manager, and the Office of Arts and Culture. It's made up of a diverse group of citizen volunteers. The commission is a critical voice in promoting the importance and value of arts and culture experiences for all Phoenix residents. It advocates for the continued public funding for the arts and culture sector, arts education, cultural equity, and other initiatives that further the growth and sustainability of the creative sector in Phoenix and the greater metropolitan area. Congratulations to Fine Arts Specialist and City of Phoenix Arts and Culture Commissioner, Anna Beckstrom. Kayla, you good? Good? Okay. All right, that concludes our awards and recognitions. Governing board members and Superintendent Finch, you may return to your seats for our presentation tonight. Return to your seat for the presentation, Mrs. Ordway. Thank you. We are thrilled to have a student and staff presentation tonight about our extraordinary music program. For more than 30 years, March has been officially designated for the observance of Music in Our Schools Month. So tonight, DVUSD Fine Arts Specialist Anna Beckstrom has brought some students and staff to share how they have benefited from the high-quality music education programs in DVUSD schools.
Thank you. Thank you, President O'Brien and members.
You're not on yet. Did you make it green? Could-
I learned that from my last time. I can speak really loud.
No, we need it so that they can hear you in computer land.
I can use that one. I'm not going to speak the whole time. I'm going to showcase them and let them do all the speaking.
Let's go to the podium. Thank you. Mrs. Backstrom.
Always ready to improvise. Good evening, and thank you, President O'Brien and members of the board, and Dr. Finch. I am so pleased tonight to offer this commemoration for what we do in DVUSD and our music programs. I've designed a little bit of a slideshow, but I will say that this is about the students tonight, and we want to recognize them and their experiences in music education. I would like to ask Daphne Backstrom to come up and speak a little bit on behalf of the Stetson Hills Elementary School and her experience so far here in DVUSD.
Hello, my name is Daphne Backstrom. I'm a sixth grader at Stetson Hills. I would like to thank the governing board and Dr. Finch for this opportunity to speak on behalf of music education and how it has and will continue to shape my life. My mother, Anna Backstrom, has allowed music to infiltrate my life in the best way possible. Every day when I go to school, I see kids having a difficult time, and the only thing that keeps them up when they struggle is doing the things they love. For me, that's music. I have attended several music camps, such as Music Rocks at Deer Valley Middle School and talent shows at Stetson Hills. I'm also in choir. Music has improved my self-esteem and has helped my brother William Backstrom as well. It is truly a great element in education. Thank you.
Hello. Is it working? Hello. My name is Jackson Cook, and I am a student, an eighth grader at Highland Lakes. When I was in about second grade, I started taking piano lessons, and these helped me build important music fundamentals, as well as interesting me in music. Around the same time, I started doing choir at Highland Lakes, and the choir program helped show me the community that music can breed. While I didn't pursue choir further, I did go into band, which I had lots of fun with, and I learned a lot about music. This strong musical background helped me build important and necessary skills, such as pattern recognition, that would help me excel in my other subjects. As a result, when I got to middle school, I was able to take high school math courses, such as algebra and geometry, which I strongly believe are solely because of my musical background. Nowadays, music is part of my daily life, and I plan on going into marching band.
Good evening. I'm Isaac Singh, and I'm also a student at Highland Lakes. I'm glad to be here to tell you how important and impactful music has been in my life. From the time I could ask, I've been asking for musical instruments for Christmas and my birthday. First, I got a drum set, then a guitar, and then an electric guitar. I love playing along with songs that I knew, and was I doing it right? Probably not, but I did feel like a rock star. When I finally got to the age where I could try an instrument at school, I knew I wanted to try the saxophone. At the beginning of it, I was upset that I couldn't play well, my thumb felt like it was going to fall off, and I did want to quit. After learning notes and getting encouragement from our amazing band teacher, Mr. Rocky, I practiced my heart out, and the following Christmas, I asked for private lessons. This year, I was invited to play at Allstate on 3 types of saxophones. The lesson I learned was when I work hard, and I will succeed. Another lesson music has taught me is we are better together. When I was chosen to attend Allstate, I practiced individually and in class, but last Saturday was the first time 150 of us from all over the state played our individual parts together, and the sound was mind-blowing. The sense of accomplishing this common goal together was something I've never experienced. In the end, music has been and will always be an important part in my life. It brings me joy when I'm down, and it connects me to others when we play. I will never forget the importance of music or the people that have helped me along the way. I appreciate your time.
Hello, my name is Sophia Marchner, and I'm a senior at Mountain Ridge in the band program. Thank you to the district for recognizing music in our schools. It's so important to me. During my last year of middle school, my mother would constantly pester me about joining a team. She would put me in running clubs so I could have a head start in cross country and push me past my comfort zone to practice for theater. Every day she would ask, "What are you going to do after school next year?" I didn't see why I had to do anything. My grades were fine as they were. I thought I was perfectly in shape. I was not. And I had plenty of friends. Still, she worried and worried. What she didn't know was that she'd already given me a head start in extracurricular. The summer before 5th grade, she'd paid for 2 weeks of music rocks camp. I had a head start in flute playing. That head start made band class more fun, made me stick with it all throughout middle school, made me think I was the best of the best. Of course, that opinion changed when I got to high school. When I got to high school and when I joined marching band, I understood why my mom had been so desperate to get me involved. She wasn't worried about my health or my grades or my friends. She was worried about my dedication, my leadership, my skills, and my experiences. Band was more than we both bargained for. It's a constant drive to success, one that leads to opportunities after high school, to dedication during the busiest times. If anyone had told my 13-year-old self that I'd be on my band's leadership team while having a part-time job and drafting my second novel just for fun, I don't think I would have believed them. As a freshman, I attempted to convince one of my 8th grade friends to join marching band. She played French horn. I don't want to learn mellophone, she would say. I don't want to play my instrument after high school, so why should I stick with band? Why should you stick with band? Because I'm not majoring or minoring in any sort of music performance next year, and choosing band as an elective was the best decision I ever made. Because you'll meet the strongest, most dedicated students and instructors you may ever see. Because you'll be a leader in everything you do. Because even if it's only for 4 years, your music will bring happiness to every corner of the world you touch with it. Thank you.
All right, hi there. I'm Claire Bowden, and I'm a junior at Boulder Creek High School. Now, I've always grown up with music in my life. I've done it with my family and my mom and everyone, but it wasn't until I got into high school that I really understood that passion that it brought to me. And through music, I was able to become a more confident person. I developed more social skills. I became just a better person in general, and I think a lot of people also have that similar experience because I've seen them grow, and being a leader through choir, I've been able to see them be confident with themselves as well. And I've been able to make a lot of good friends through it. Sorry about that. And it's made me feel a lot more comfortable as a person, and I really appreciate being able to have that opportunity to have choir and music and band and all the things that I do in my life. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Samuel Van Eyes. I am a senior at Boulder Creek High School, and I am honored to be representing Boulder Creek's high school's choir program this evening. Choir allows an opportunity to expand my horizons and involve myself in experiences that would not be present otherwise. Since I joined choir, not only have I grown as a musician, but also as a person. Choir provides unique opportunities for students to become leaders among peers, which you do not find in a normal classroom setting. For example, I was provided the opportunity by Mr. Kirk Douglas to direct and instruct Bella Voce, our varsity women's concert choir, in a song for our upcoming concert, which will be fulfilled tomorrow and Thursday night, which everybody should go see. It's really good. This is by far the best and most unique opportunity I've ever had in school as a whole, and this never would have happened in, say, an AP English class. Furthermore, the relationships that you develop in choir, in my own opinion, are far better than relationships you will make elsewhere. As an example, I set my partner on our choir council, Claire Bowden, who I now consider to be the sister that I never had. And our relationship developed through choir. Through the vulnerability that singing encourages on a daily basis, students can become more connected with each other, which is something that I feel is unique to the music education experience. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you again, President O'Brien and Board, Dr. Finch. As you can see, Music in Our Schools Month means so much more to these students and to our community than I could ever put into words, and I think they did just a fine job putting it into words for us. Thank you so much.
I'd like to thank Mrs. Backstrom and all of the students and choir and band directors who came out this evening to share with us your experiences. We do so appreciate you spending part of your Tuesday evening with us. You said some really meaningful and wonderful things. So thank you again for being here tonight, and thank you and congratulations to our award winners from Barry Goldwater High School, as well as Mountain Ridge, thank you. Really appreciate, and all the parents and community members who came out to support them. So thank you, everybody. And I apologize, and Mountain Shadow A+ School of Excellence. I apologize, awesome. And we are going to take a short 5-minute break before we begin the governing board. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that all board members are in attendance, and please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? A second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Our first item of action is 3A.
I would ask that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation for the principal of Greenbrier Elementary School, Mrs. Ashley Kane.
I second.
Mrs. Moffett.
So this evening, Ashley Kane is administration's recommendation for the principal of Greenbrier. I believe we have the Greenbrier community here tonight. So currently, Ashley is the acting principal of the Academy of Math and Science in Glendale. She has both charter experience and public school experience. She's looking forward to coming back to the public system, but she, so we understand, has done an outstanding job launching a K-8 campus for this charter group. And all that we have talked to, all of the other administrators that we have talked to that have worked with Ashley and the people that she works for absolutely adore her and think that we're quite lucky to get to recommend her this evening.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Moffett. Board members? All right, with that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And with that, Mrs. Ashley Kane, if you'd like to say a few words.
Hello. Oh, it works. Good. Hi, I'm Ashley. I just am so thankful to be able to join the Deer Valley community, and I have only heard wonderful, great things about Greenbrier, and meeting some of you guys the other week was just so wonderful. So I'm just so excited to work with you all, continue the legacies and the traditions that have been going on at the campus for quite some time, while also being able to build out new great starts and new beginnings together. So again, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome to Deer Valley USD family. We're excited to have you, and thank you for the great turnout from Greenbrier to welcome her. So awesome. We will now move on to item 3B.
Okay, 3B, I would ask that the governing board approve the proclamation declaring March Music in Our Schools Month in the Deer Valley Unified School District.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. To read this first, right? Okay. Whereas for more than 30 years, March has been officially designated. Oh, wait, was I supposed to go to Mrs.? Okay, all right, apologize. March has been officially designated by the National Association for Music Education as Music in Our Schools Month, encouraging communities across the nation to focus on music education. And whereas music education is part of a well-rounded education for every student as outlined in the Every Student Succeeds. And whereas the purpose of this celebration is to raise awareness of the lasting positive impact of music education on the academic, personal, and professional growth of our students. And whereas music education shapes the way our students understand themselves and the world around them, allowing for a deep engagement with learning. And whereas Music in Our Schools Month reminds us that school is where all children should have access to music. And whereas music educators, students, and communities throughout the Deer Valley Unified School District demonstrate the importance of quality music education programs to the lives of young people. Whereas the Deer Valley Unified School District joins our music students, educators, and communities in celebrating the power of music education. Now, therefore, I, Ann O'Brien, Governing Board President of the Deer Valley Unified School District, do hereby proclaim on the 8th of March as Music in Our Schools Month and encourages our citizens to celebrate and acknowledge every day but especially in March, that music education is an essential part of every student's well-rounded education. Mrs. Backstrom, do you have anything to add?
Thank you so much.
All right, board members, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
I can't believe she's not singing.
And I would like to say that before we started the meeting, we did have some wonderful students from our district come and speak about their experience with music in their schools, and it was really very powerful and inspirational. So thank you for having them come and sharing their experiences with us, Mrs. Backstrom. All right, on to item 4A, which is a district report from our National Board Certification folks, and we're going to start with Dr. Tunis.
Good evening. Good evening, President O'Brien, Dr. Finch, members of the board. I'm very happy to come before you tonight with my National Board leadership team, which consists of Alexis Leduca from Mountain Ridge High School and Stephanie Eubank from Deer Valley High School, who are going to present our annual report on our National Board Certification Program.
Thank you, Dr. Tunis. We are so excited.
I don't think your microphone is on.
Excited to be able to talk with you about everything National Board and what's happening in the district. Oh, okay. I need to learn from the music people how to use microphones. So, but we're really excited because National Board in Deer Valley is growing by phenomenal numbers, and we are starting to be a pretty big force within the state, which is incredibly exciting. National Board is a voluntary opportunity for all teachers. And with that, they go through a process where they are assessed with 4 different components that cover content knowledge, differentiation instruction, teaching, practice, learning environment, and then being a reflective and effective practitioner. But what's really exciting is that this is all absolutely in alignment with our DVUSD mission, and it is research based and shows that having more MBCTs within our district really does a phenomenal amount for our students as well. It's aligned with our DVUSD core values, and we come back to these repeatedly to help reinforce all the amazing moments that our teachers are having and showing and highlighting all the accomplished teaching that's happening in the district. There's a lot of data that can be shared, and I think the important thing to really recognize is that it is a very rigorous process. It does take time, but the effects throughout the entire process are inspirational. I'm in my 26th year of teaching, and even going through the process, working with candidates now, there's literally not a moment I don't walk away from any national board event where my bucket's a little bit fuller and I'm inspired by those around me. And that's really pretty magical to be able to say after so many years in teaching. Now, we call ourselves a network, our DVNBCT network, and we've done a lot of things that we're really proud of. We currently have 5 candidate support providers who work to support our current candidates. We have had during this school year 28 candidates attending our candidate support meetings. We also attend K-12 events to support. We've hosted Zoom informational meetings. We try and get out the word as much as possible. We have a National Board pre-candidacy class that is free to teachers. We have 10 teachers and counselors currently involved, and that just started last week. We are on Twitter if you'd like to follow us. But we try and provide as much information as possible. We had our first workshop last weekend at Mountain Ridge High School, and it was phenomenal. We had candidates, we'll share information later about that were just thrilled to have that information. One of the moments that we had this year, thanks to Dr. Finch and Dr. Tunis, we had signs celebrating and supporting our candidates. So signs were delivered to all the candidates and the teachers, and it was pretty exciting not only to get this recognition from Dr. Finch and Dr. Tunis, but Even when Dr. Finch came to my own classroom, my kids were like, "That's impressive. That's what that balloon means." And so it was really just a really great touch and something that I walk around our own campus seeing those signs, and I think that's really exciting. We also repurposed Canvas now that we have all teachers well versed in how to use Canvas. We put all our resources there so that coaches are able to work with candidates as much as possible. Earlier in the year, we celebrated our new DVUSD MBCTs. We had 4, and we also had 1 renewed MBCT, which is exciting. And there's some pictures from getting those gold balloons. Those are a pretty big deal for National Board Certified teachers. We work real hard for those. And the next big event was our National Board Workshop. So the National Board Workshop.
The National Board Workshop was actually born from conversations with other candidates where they were really looking for some dedicated time, right? They know they have to get all of these components done, and they just need to find the time. So the coaches got together and we thought, well, how can we help provide this time for them? And we were already using up Saturday to provide the pre-candidacy course. And so we said, well, why don't we just tack that on and invite candidates to come and spend Saturday working through their components. And between the workshop and the pre-candidacy class, we had almost 30 teachers at Mountain Ridge High School on Saturday, which really is a demonstration of their commitment to their students and their commitment to this process, that they're willing to get up early on a Saturday, drive over to Mountain Ridge and just sit and work and really like reflect on their progress, reflect on their practice, and think about their kids. So at the end of that, we asked the teachers that had participated in the workshop, what what was it really meaningful? Did it accomplish the goals that we had set out? And 100% of our participants felt like the opportunity to just have time to work was completely valuable. Each of them got a little swag bag, and inside that bag was a folder full of resources to help guide their thinking as they went through the day. And they all felt like those resources were also completely valuable. Um, we got a lot of different kinds of feedback from them. Anything from it was great to just have time to it was awesome to be able to sit down and work with coaches. They felt like the tech support that was provided was meaningful, but they'd like to see some more of it. And just having that uninterrupted time that they could just sit and work was very meaningful to all of our candidates. In addition to the workshop on Saturday, we had our first pre-candidacy class. The pre-candidacy class allows teachers to kind of take a look at the process of National Board. What does it mean to become a nationally board certified teacher, and what does it mean to declare your candidacy? So it is broken down into 8 modules, and we did modules 1 and 2 on Saturday. So we had 10 teachers that have joined our pre-candidacy class for 2022, and that's pretty exciting as well. Here's where our pre-candidacy kind of breaks down. Because of a request by Norterra Canyon to actually have us come to their February 4th staff meeting and present National Board and what is it, what's the process, what does it look like? We've got 4 teachers from Norterra Canyon alone out of just that one afternoon that we spent together. So that's pretty exciting. And then you can see that we've got several other schools represented. Here's where we are right now. So in 2017, 2018, we set a goal to have 32 National Board certified candidates in this district with 38 nationally board certified teachers. We've been making great progress. Obviously, we haven't quite hit our goal yet, and we'll talk in a little bit about how COVID has impacted that. But you can see that over the course of the last 5 years, we've steadily increased our numbers, and we continue to grow the program. How do we compare to our other districts? We're really excited that we're actually number 6 in the state for the number of candidates. That's pretty exciting, especially when you consider that 5 years ago we had 8. So, amongst our neighbors, you can see that only Paradise Valley has more candidates than Deer Valley. Part of the reason why we're able to grow the program and able to get as many candidates as we do is because of the support from not only the school board and district leadership, but also at the school level. One of the biggest kind of perks is that as long as teachers that are nationally board certified maintain that certificate, they get an $1,800 annual stipend. And it's a way that teachers really have control of their own salary, which is not, there's not very many opportunities for it, frankly. But by going through this process, they can earn that extra $1,800 stipend. Additionally, the district helps support candidates through monthly cohort meetings. And we have partnered with several other community partners that help cover the costs of becoming certified.
Now, we have some region data to share. We like to share this with the principals, especially. There seems to be some healthy competition. So we like to let them see their current candidates and their MBCTs. And we know these are a lot of numbers here. We have the Goldwater region. We have a cumulative slide here at the end. Boulder Creek, Deer Valley, Mountain Ridge. I'm partial. And O'Connor, and then District. But we don't have our cumulative slide in there. One of the things that we've noticed that's really exciting, we added something a little bit later, is that we noticed that the more MBCTs on a campus, the bigger that it helps to grow the program. It really is exciting, and getting the idea out there of what National Board is and how much it means is something that we try to do as much as possible. And that's really the most exciting aspect of it, is that when we can share with other teachers how meaningful it is. It isn't a dog and pony show. It isn't just something that some hoops you jump through. It truly is something that adds to your day, it adds to your pedagogy, and it's something that is very meaningful.
So I don't know if you've heard, but there's this thing called COVID-19. It has obviously impacted our program as much as it's impacted everything else. And it doesn't mean that we don't have accomplished teachers, right? It's just that accomplished teachers also get tired. And with all of the asks that have been made of teachers over the last couple of years, we've lost a few candidates in part because they're just tired. While they're actively working to fill gaps that are as a result of COVID, they just didn't see this. Not that they don't see it as being valuable, but it's just that it's one more thing to do, and they just don't have enough room on their plate. COVID really kind of, I don't want to say it hit us hard, but it definitely is a part of the reason why we haven't met those goals that we wanted to. We didn't foresee a global pandemic. And so when we set those goals, we were aiming high. And I think without COVID, we definitely would have hit that, right? I think that the big thing that has happened, though, even through COVID, is that it's given us some technological platforms to not only share what National Board is, but to make it more efficient. Like Alexis had mentioned earlier, we've really cleaned up our Canvas course to help make it much more palatable for teachers and to help increase our communication between the coaches and the candidates. And then also we're widely using Zoom because of COVID. And so we're able to meet when necessary on Zoom, but keep the coaching going and keep the momentum building. So even though COVID has definitely set us back, it's also in other ways given us a wider scope of practice and reach. What we have planned for the future of our network here in Deer Valley, we want to continue providing as much support for candidates as we can. And one of the things that we would like to implement is kind of this covert candidate support, where candidates, go check their mail and there's a handwritten note that just says, "You got this." And there's something special about, knowing that there's somebody who's got your back, just to keep candidates in the process. We also want to keep providing more opportunities for current NBCTs to get involved in mentoring. We added 4 more NBCTs to our arsenal, and we want to make sure that they still feel connected and they still feel rooted in our network. We want to expand candidate support. Norterra Canyon really inspired us. Is there a way that we can get enough candidates at each school site that each individual school site would need to have candidate support? And wouldn't that be an awesome problem to have to figure out? So that's what our kind of big vision is. And then, of course, we want to keep having more workshop days. We actually have another one planned because of our success on Saturday. We're going to plan another one in May, right before submission, and make sure that our candidates know that we're here for them. None of this could be possible without the support of our community partners. Of course, Arizona K-12 Center, which is our national board kind of hub, they provide grants to defray the costs of each component through a grant out of the Office of Governor Doug Ducey. And then we also have support from Discover Card and the Deer Valley Education Foundation, which helps us further pay for components. If a candidate doesn't get the score that they were hoping for, they can retake that without having to worry about the cost of it, because we'll cover one of those components. And then, of course, there's the best way to motivate a teacher is by providing snacks. And so our partnership with these organizations allow us to do that. So thank you all for your support.
Yes, thank you for listening to our annual report. You can see that our ladies are doing a fantastic job growing our national board program in our district. We're very proud of all of the participation from all of our schools, and look forward to the next phase.
Thank you so much, ladies, for being here and sharing this information. And I am so excited to see that you have 4 teachers at Norterra. I think that you're definitely onto something. Many, many moons ago, I believe Stetson Hills had 5 or 6 teachers go through it together, and I know we're a great support to each other. So I hope other schools will follow suit and work on building those cohorts to go together. Any other comments or questions, Mrs. Reed?
I remember my first year on the board, we got invited to go to one of your workshops, and I was so blown away by the work that you were doing and by the collaboration and the questions that the teachers were answering, and seeing how far you've come in those 4 years. And I know that COVID threw a wrench in there, and I know that our teachers are tired, and it's, that was an easy thing to bounce right off of the plate. But thank you so much for investing your time and your talents to coach up the next generation of teachers. I know that there's a lot of energy that you put forth, and the rest of our NBCT teachers do too. So I'm just so proud of you for what you've built over the last 4 years, and sign me up to write anonymous cards and to give them to you so you can mail them out to teachers. I will definitely do that. So I think that's fabulous. So congratulations.
Mrs. Paperman?
I have a question. Is there like a number, is there a cap, like a number of teachers a year that can be part of the program for the numbers of teachers to grow more in Deer Valley, or is it more funding to support more of the program so teachers can join?
We have the ability to put forth as many teachers as we can. Luckily, the grant and the money from Governor Ducey has been continued through several years now. So as of right now, teachers do not have to pay essentially anything except for the $75 registration fee during the time they're actively working on their candidacy, which is between 1 and 3 years.
Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Oh, Mrs. Ordway? No.
I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And COVID might have derailed things, but I think also that it's shown us some priorities. And the fact that you have candidates that are working, that means that they were able to clear the COVID cloud in their time and jump back on that. So great job and thank you.
All right. Thank you, ladies. And with that, we will move on to our finance reports. Mrs. Mock?
Good evening, President O'Brien, members of the board, and guests. I always find it difficult to follow this group because I know these teachers have such a passion for NBCT, and I always enjoy listening to them. So we will try to have as much energy as we are talking about first our enrollment report for the month ending February of 2022. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Zerbach. The report that we have for you this evening for enrollment, as of February 23rd, we had 32,680 students for an increase from the same time last year of 1.6%. We are still tracking the change from our last quote-unquote normal year and still do have a decrease from this time in 2018, 2019 of 3.5%, where we had a high of 33,873 students. But we look forward to that continued increase at 1.6% this year. And with that, I'll take any questions on the enrollment report.
I don't hear any. Mrs. Mock, your next report.
All right. For our next report, we will review the February 22 M&O budget report. It is incredibly similar to the report we presented in January. At this point, we are projecting about $7 million in carry forward, mostly, unfortunately, from attrition savings from having a significant number of vacant positions for certified and classified. Just a little bit of savings as well from our maintenance copier agreements and our utilities to add to the vacancy savings. We did add last month the additional budget capacity we added with our September budget revision and the additional carry forward that we had as reported by ADE in early February, early last month. And so that adds an additional $4.7 million to our projected carry forward. In addition, we did put back into the M&O report $7.5 million that we had originally, what I like to call below the line in our budget book from last year. And those were monies that we held without allocating to salaries or other expenses due to the unknowns that might happen this year thanks to our frenemy COVID. And so adding that $7.5 million back, we are projecting about $9.3 million in carry forward. And with that, I will take any questions.
I'm not seeing any.
And we will move on to our student reports that we've not spent a lot of time on in the past, probably none, except for the last meeting. So I want to thank Mrs. Fisher for bringing those to the forefront so that our parents and staff know what these reports are in the board book, just in case they've ever perused it and saw it and weren't sure. The first one we're going to look at is our student activity funds. Those are our club monies. And these are monies raised by students for students. Students get to determine how they are spent. And so this report will give you a current balance by school for the student activity funds. The second report we have are the auxiliary funds. These are bookstore operation funds, athletic ticket sale funds, any ticket sales for dance or band concerts, anything sold on school, things of that nature. Even including book fairs. That's why you may see some funds at K-6 schools. It would be book fairs and other such revenue shares as well. And so you will see a report by school for the auxiliary funds. And I will take any questions on any of the student activities or the auxiliary fund reports.
Mrs. Fisher?
I can't see them because I can't get into board docs, but I want to thank you for talking about these funds, because one of the biggest things I get hit with from very uninformed people at political things is, look at all this money that they are holding, they're sitting on, and they just don't care and don't. And I tell them this is a pass-through. It's a fiduciary fund. It's not our money. We can't spend it. And I'm repeatedly told, no way, you're not letting kids make decisions. Yes, kids vote on this money. They have to. It's written in statute. So thank you for touching on it, because hopefully somebody's watching who just thinks that we're holding money somewhere, and we're not. At least not in this case.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. And I would add to that, these funds, in general, have to be spent for the purpose for which they were collected. And so they are limited to how we collected them, what the students raised them for, and are very specified. So, there's very little opportunity for the district to use these for anything other than the designated purpose for which collected. So thank you, I appreciate that.
Mrs. Mock, do you mind giving an example that's more specific where that, so somebody in the community might better understand what that would mean?
One of the auxiliary funds is our parking fund. That is incredible. It is specifically limited by statute that those funds may only be spent in the parking lot. It can be used for security, curbing, repaving the parking lot, signs in the parking lot, security in the parking lot, and athletic ticket sale monies typically go right back into our athletic programs. Book fair funds typically go right back into the library at the school. It even includes your $5 for your ID replacement, which literally goes back to the cost of replacing the ID.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll now go to a Safe and Healthy School Report. Dr. Zurbach.
Oh, boy. Okay. Good evening. Yes, good evening, President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch. I am pleased to be here this evening to present to you the Safe and Healthy Schools Report. Our agenda is well known by this time. I will start off by showing the most recent COVID-19 metrics. We will then proceed to updates to the Q4 safety plan. And then our last slide reminds folks who are watching about the COVID-19 testing opportunities that the district will help provide to the community, and then finishing with a Q&A portion. So for the first slide with the case count, you can see here that the trend continues to go in a downward trajectory, which is very good for all of us. And perhaps most exciting, you can see now that we are out of the high threshold in this particular category. So thank you very much. Yes, that is definitely reason to stand, dance, and do anything else there with that. So, and we do see this number again, as we have reported for a few meetings now, that it will likely continue to decline. For our case count, all ages, again, you can see this, and as I've said many times before, our own district number correlated very much and will reflect what is happening for the overall county. And so you can see the curve continuing to decline here, which again is reflected in this next slide, which captures students that are between the ages of 6 and 18. And so those students are the predominant ages of our students in our Deer Valley Public Schools. And our COVID-19 dashboard, which is at the very friendly user URL, user-friendly dvusd.org/dashboard. That has been updated on a weekly basis, and we will likely move to an every other week basis starting in Q4 as our numbers continue to be quite low. And you can see that in this particular slide. So the main piece for this evening is the Q4 safety plan updates, and I will review those changes here. So the first one with respect to contact tracing, as you are aware, we have gone through a phased process, if you will, in terms of moving down from the grade levels where we do not contact trace and where we follow the emergency measure, which requires us to notify the community, both students and parents, in the event of an outbreak. And so that has moved from the high school to the middle school down to 4th grade. And so we will continue that phased approach. And in Q4, that will move to all of our grade levels. So again, we will continue to notify our staff and our parent community in the event of an outbreak. And the definition of an outbreak has adapted as well and is now 3 cases, whereas before it was 2 cases. With respect to visitors and volunteers, I do know that this one is something that many of our community, they have been waiting for, as well as many of our teachers. And so whereas in the past, our visitors and volunteers have mainly been limited to after-school types of activities, in Q4, we will be moving those to during the day as well. And so, again, we know that our community and many of our teachers are very excited about that. As far as face masks and congregate settings, again, as you know, Mrs. Moffett and I did communicate via a memo to all of our DVUSD staff back in early January that face masks needed to be worn when folks were in large congregate settings, so perhaps a staff meeting or a staff professional development session. And that was for continuity of staffing in our schools to make sure that we could keep our classrooms open for our students. That particular measure was lifted on March the 1st, and all of our staff were notified of that. Our fourth bullet point talks about face masks in transportation. Again, as you are aware, the CDC had a mass transit face mask order that was in place for us for quite a long time. That particular order was lifted on Friday, February the 25th, and we communicated to our staff and our families on Monday, the 28th, and it went into effect in the evening of that day, where it was a face mask optional piece for our transportation. And then the last item is our health office prevention measures. That is one place where we will still see a continuation of our mitigation strategies. And so whether it be curtains or other types of mitigation equipment or materials, we will still be using those in the health offices with our nurses. And then for our COVID-19 testing opportunities, again, we have been offering COVID-19 testing not only at our district office, but at several of our campus sites throughout the past months. We then moved, as cases declined, to only offering those at our district site. Whereas we had 3 days a week, we are now moving to 2 days a week throughout the month of March. We will not be having testing during the week of spring break, but the testing will resume once we come back from spring break. And although not listed here, but please note that our home testing kits are still available at our schools, and we will continue to provide those as long as there is supply. And that concludes the Safe and Healthy Report, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
Board members? All right. Oh, Mrs. Ordway, I apologize.
Maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but what news or when will the parents receive the news for, excuse me, promotion, graduation, those kind of events, how that's going to happen?
President O'Brien and Ms. Ordway, in terms of the parameters for those and how open those will be, that communication will come very soon. We did meet with, specifically with respect to graduation, we did meet with the State Farm representatives last week to receive their final word, if you will, as far as what they were going to do. And so that is 99.9% in place, and we will be communicating out if some of the schools have not already. But what I can tell you is it is a very open environment, Ms. Ordway, for the graduation. There will be no ticket requirement as there has been in the past year and talked about the year before that. And so as many members that want to come will be able to come. There is no face mask mandate at the ceremony. I would say those are probably the two ones that are asked of me the most from our community members. And then as for our promotion, those two will be reflect really what they look like before COVID. And so in terms of specific information, the timing for promotion, I can put that in a Friday update for you and see exactly when the schools are communicating that out. But we are having those discussions. In fact, I had a discussion with our K-8 and our 7-8 principals last week at our level meetings about that.
Awesome, because that's the bulk of the phone calls and text messages now.
Yep.
Thank you so much again, Dr. Zerbach, for your report.
Thank you.
We have no call to the public this evening, so with that, we'll be moving to old business 6A.
I would ask that the governing board approve the governing board would approve the governing board meeting dates for regular scheduled meetings for the 2022-2023 year.
I second.
So we have a motion and a second for the 22-23 governing board meeting. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. You abstained, Mrs. Fisher? So we have a 4-0 vote. 401. Apologize. The next item on the agenda is 6B.
I would ask that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the fiscal year 23 employee benefit recommendation.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Miglerino?
President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch. We did preview this at our previous meeting, but there have been a couple minor changes. There are improvements to the benefit package, so I wanted to share those with the board before your formal consideration of this. As we mentioned before, here the benefit committee members, wanted to thank them again for their time. Many of them have been on the committee or the work team actually for some time, and they are getting very well versed in terminology that most people don't know about. We did have 2 meetings because there weren't a lot of changes. We were able to conclude our work in fewer meetings this particular year. This is the actual recommendation that we previewed on February 22nd with 2 exceptions on this page. The first is United Healthcare has decided to provide our employees a 90-day prescription. Currently, it's a 30-day prescription, which requires our employees to go to the pharmacy once a month. For maintenance medications, that's a little bit problematic. There is an option currently for employees to do mail-in prescriptions. That's not a gender, that's a delivery method. This would allow them to be able to pick up a couple extra months for those maintenance prescriptions. It doesn't, there's no cost advantage for doing it at the retail pharmacy. There is for the mail-in option. So instead of 3 times the monthly copay, it's 2.5 times the monthly copay for the mail-in option. So that's one option that we wanted to take advantage of. It's something that actually came up during our 2 meetings with the benefit committee. We also wanted to take advantage of a preventative annual skin cancer screening that United Healthcare is willing to cover when it's provided by an in-network provider. We will get more detail of that information as we get closer to open enrollment. And then finally, there was one additional change on the Delta Dental plan. On this page, they are willing to cover composite fillings. Currently, the metallic fillings are what are considered covered on the Delta Dental plan. Now, this allows our employees to get composite fillings that are more closely related to the color of natural teeth color. So we wanted to take advantage of all those options as well. All 3 of those changes would become effective July 1st, again, pending the board's decision regarding this. And just as a reminder, the plan is to take the additional costs, about $422,000, out of the reserves that we have in trust at the Valley Schools Employee Benefit Group, or on deposit with the Valley Schools Employee Benefit Group. So I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding this.
Board members? I'm sorry, did you say something, Mrs. Fisher? Mrs. Fisher?
So, sorry, I can't seem to get into anything Deer Valley, but, so I don't have numbers. Our trusts are extremely thick, for lack of a better word. We have a lot of money in our trusts. And I do appreciate that the benefits, the additional costs, 'cause our experiences were, first let me say thank you for providing all that information, the data that you did provide. If I could get it, I would reference it. But our trusts are very well-funded. I guess that'd be maybe a better way to say it. And our experiences are high, so I understand the increase is there, or why that increase would be. And it's wonderful that we are using the additional funds from one of the trusts, from that trust specifically, to reduce that cost. But when I look at the cost of the benefits for our employees comparative to, say, the state of Arizona or other like programs, we are not doing a good job for our employees. And I know that's not the intent, but our benefits are not robust as they should be for the cost. And I found it very concerning as I looked through it. I know the experiences were high, you expected in the COBRA and some of the other plans, but I, we've had the same committee for the longest time. We don't have a trust board. Everybody here did not want to have a trust board. But I would ask that next year we change up the committee. We're stagnant. Those benefits, and I know that, and employees know that the district could elect to not have a trust, that we could actually go on a fully insured plan. We could actually be on the state's plan. And there's so many options, but I was just very disappointed when I looked through at how expensive our benefits are when they weren't robust, and we have a lot of employees that do not make a lot of money. And it's another tool for retention. How can we retain an employee when we're paying them $12 to $15 an hour and our benefits are as expensive as they are? And I know we cover theirs, but they have children, they have families. We do not only employ single individuals. So that's my piece. I do appreciate the committee doing the job that they do. Going through benefits can be fun, but it can also be very boring. But for next year, I just really hope we do better. Thanks.
Anybody else? Mrs. Ordway?
Mr. Miglerino, when the process for this committee, what do you look at informational wise to make sure that we're having robust benefits for our employees, and with the employees that are on the committee, how are they chosen?
President O'Brien, Ms. Ordway. I'll take the second question first. The composition of this work team is established in the in the employee manuals, so in the classified and certified manuals. So a change would require us to, if we do want to consider a change for next year, when we bring the manuals back for the board's consideration, that would be the time that we would have to consider that change. Because it is memorialized in the employee manuals.
Actually, I did know where it was. I just wanted you to explain what it is, so we don't have to.
So the membership here, there's 3 members, and we allow for an alternate in case somebody can't attend the meetings. 3 members from each of the employee groups. So as you can see from here. We have several staff members that help us from the Payroll and Benefits Committee, and we have our Deer Valley Building Leadership Team represented, our classified group, as well as our certified group are all represented. And again, that is memorialized in the employee manuals.
To that point, though, do those groups or employee groups pick who attends, or who is on the committee, or does the district pick?
President O'Brien, so that is prescribed in the manual, and each group gets to select their representation. To that end, the building leadership team gets to select the 3 people that will, and so they have their own individual processes for determining their participation.
To further that, if you have this information right now, what has been the turnover or new members in the last 3 years?
President O'Brien, Ms. Ordway, I don't have the exact statistics. I think there's been there have been several new members because we have to do some education, but I would say it's more the exception as opposed to the norm. And I think part of the reason is we get, and this maybe goes to the first question, is, you know, what information do we look at? There's a lot of detailed information and a lot of information that so it takes a little bit of getting up to speed to be able to understand some of the information that we analyze as a group, to be able to make some of the recommendations that we kind of distill into what looks like just a couple words on a page when we finally bring it to the board for consideration. But there's a lot of thought that goes into what those benefit offerings will include and the structure of each of those benefits as well.
And do you look for comparison organizations to make sure that we are getting the best for the money for the employees?
President O'Brien, Ms. Ordway, we do look at some comparative data. So United Healthcare provides, previous reporting for our own, as well as their book of business, and more specifically the Arizona book of business. So they look at national numbers as well as state of Arizona numbers. We also, because we're a member of the Valley Schools organization, we also can compare what other Valley School members are doing with their benefits. So there is some comparative information that's looked at. Some of it, to be quite honest with you, is not taken into consideration, even though it might be looked at. For example, dental coverage is not something that is commonly covered by employers, but we choose, Deer Valley specifically chooses to cover employees' dental coverage as an employer-paid benefit. So we do look at that information, but sometimes it's not, it doesn't determine whether we provide a benefit or not, because we choose to do it for whatever other reasons we do, with the membership of this work team.
I just wanted to make sure it's a in-depth looking at and making sure, because it would be a terrible thing if we did not have close to, if not the best, benefits for our employees. And if there was a better place to get them, then I'm hoping that we would be looking.
So that is something that we talk a great deal about. One of the reasons a year ago we put in 4 tiers, meaning that previously we only had the option for family coverage. So somebody that only had one dependent had to pay for family coverage, which isn't an appropriate cost for that. So we included the 2 additional tiers. So you can pick up just one dependent, or you can pick up just children for somebody that doesn't have any other dependents other than children that they want to cover. Those 2 have been able to provide more cost-effective options for our employees, and we've seen increased participation in dependent coverage for implementing those 2 plans a year ago.
All right, thank you.
Could I ask a question for Mr. M?
Of course you could, Dr.
It's a great
French.
opportunity, Mr. M, to talk about the differences between being self-insured and joining the state, for example. What are the advantages and disadvantages? I've been in education 30 plus years, approaching the 40 mark, and only big systems like us can have this opportunity. This is the first time in my history as a superintendent that I've ever been in a group where we had this cost benefit to the district and the employee. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. So we are self-insured as opposed to being fully insured with a provider. That does come with us assuming some risk associated, and hence the reason for having reserves in place to be able to cover. So we pay for every claim dollar that comes in out of the structure that's built from Valley Schools. So for us to really save the cost of claims, we would have to change the benefit structure, or we would have to get a better contract with the providers that are providing the service. The benefit of being part of Valley Schools is they're negotiating on our behalf with all other Valley Schools members to be able to get the contracts with the providers at the best possible price. So as opposed to how would be different and are fully insured, they try and predict what the actual costs are going to be. They add in some profit and overhead, and that's what they charge you. And then the insurance company takes the risk. So they certainly want to guess high when they set the fully insured price in hopes that they will be able to not only make their profit, but anything else that would be saved in terms of not having cost greater than what they predicted. In the benefit of one of the benefits of the self-insured model is anything that is not spent on claims, we get to retain in our account at Valley Schools. So when you look at the balance that's in our account at Valley Schools, that's after years since we've been a member since 2005 of accumulation. And all of that accumulation, we then invest and be able to use the investments, which, if I remember correctly, I think it was about $965,000 last year was our investment income based on the balance that we have. So we use those investment incomes, the investment income, to be able to defer some costs that we would have to make in additional contributions into Valley Schools. So we then protect the district by buying reinsurance, or what we call stop loss coverage. And right now that currently is set at $400,000. So for every claim that we receive that's over $400,000, we have a reinsurance plan so that because again, we're paying for every claim dollar that comes in. So we could have $500,000. Well, we typically have 20 to 30 claims that pierce what we call the high cost claim threshold. That's not 20 claims over 400,000. It's 20 to 30 claims over $150,000. And we track those to be able to know what our risk is going to be and if we need to adjust our stop loss ratio.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Fisher.
Just to be clear, I'm not suggesting we leave being self-insured. What I'm saying is we have better options. I did get up at least the June financial statement for specifically the employee benefits group. Our ending net position from our beginning net position is increased by $4 million. If you look at the January, we're at $33 million. Now, I understand the IBNR that we are not yet. January is really deceptive to look at because we will still have 6 months of claims to realize. But I do want to be clear that my goal is to ensure that we are truly doing what is best for our employees who do not make a lot of money. Now, there are some that do, but my concern is our low-cost payers. And no matter how many ways we try and ask questions to make it look like a rosy picture, self-insured trusts are the best thing to do. They absolutely are. But we need to make sure that we're taking advantage of everything we can to reduce the overall cost for our employees. This isn't a dog and pony show. It's a fact. Thank you.
Mr. Miglorino.
If I may, we did have a good year last year. We ran, our loss ratio was 79%. So for every dollar in contribution, we only paid claims out in 79 cents. This year, it's a different story. We've had 2 months well over 100%, 117 and 107%. I think we're running right at 100%. So every dollar in is going out right now. The beauty of being self-insured, that net position increase. Most of that was due to the loss ratio, much of which was, I think, contributed to the pandemic. But it also was impacted by the investment earnings. So again, we get to retain those funds, which is to our benefit. But I think to Ms. Fisher's point is she wants to make sure that the benefits are rich. And we do have a board policy, BCB, that we look at annually to make sure that our salary and benefit combined, that percentage of our M&O continues to be above the average. When we do that analysis each year, we do find that our salaries are at a lower percentage than the comparable districts. Our benefit costs are at a higher percentage than our comparable districts. And again, that's because of choices that are made by the group that's making this recommendation tonight to be able to continue the benefits that are currently offered to our employees.
It does seem that in the years that I've been on the board, this has come up a couple of times where folks talk about wanting to have an increase in salary, and we look at the salary expenses versus benefit expenses. We do comparisons with our districts that are nearby, and whenever we have the discussion about potentially reducing the amount we spend on benefits so that we could potentially increase salary, that has never seemed to be an option that any of the employee groups choose to select. I hear Mrs. Fisher, I think, wanting to ensure that we are providing the best options in employee benefits. So it seems, though, Mr. Migliorio, that through Valley Schools, are we not looking at more than one option, or can you help me understand how it is that this group decides which benefits that they put forth?
President O'Brien, I think, and Ms. Fisher can correct me, I think what she was referring to, because the only cost that the employee have would be able to pick up the dependent cost because we're paying for the employee cost. So it's just that I want to get into the medical field because with a straight face, they look at you and say, hey, medical inflation is 11%. And I just love to be able to, I know Ms. Mock would love if we just started out and said, hey, next year we're just going to add 11% to every number we add. And that's how we're going to start. But that's what happens, they start with a big number. That's just assumed that that's going to be the case. And, we have industry experts that help us with that. We have actuarial folks that do all of these calculations. And what ends up happening is we're just trying to offset these medical inflation increases and pharmacy increases. And so that's why the committee looks at this and says, from a relative standpoint, hey, if we could just not have it increase, it won't erode any salary benefits that we might also look forward to enjoying next year. But relative to, is it expensive to cover even the dependents and the two additional tiers that we added to the plan? It is an expensive venture. The only thing that we can say is it's probably as expensive if they were to try and pick up that coverage anywhere else, because they're not coming to us and saying medical inflation is only 11% for Deer Valley. That's industry-wide. What they look at. And so we're just trying to make sure that we can try and offset what is customary in this industry in terms of annual increases so that it is at least as affordable as possible. We do offer all of these options for our employees under a Cafeteria 125 IRS plan, which means that they can take those deductions pre-tax from their pay, which does help in some regards. But for a classified staff that needs their family to be covered, it is an expensive venture. I would agree with Ms. Fisher.
Okay.
I'll just add 2 seconds. One of the foundational principles of being self-insured that is a benefit to our system is ownership. Once the staff figure out that we are in this all together, keeping our costs down, that has them more reflective about wellness. And so that's something that we have been promoting for the last 5 years, and every year we continue to expand that. And that is one of one of the key benefits of having it in-house in your own system versus just accepting what the insurance companies give you. So that is a very foundational, critical principle of being self-insured.
Thank you both for all the information. With that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. We have a unanimous vote, 5-0. We will go to item 6C.
All right, I would ask that the governing board accept the recommendation to approve the Government Purchasing Alliance 1GPA lead district designation for Deer Valley Unified School District.
Mrs. Mock.
President O'Brien, members of the board, and guests, we have no additional information to provide other than what we presented at the last governing board meeting, but I'm happy to answer any questions or make any clarifications at the time.
Thank you. I think I forgot to ask for a second.
Sorry, second.
Okay. Oh, we did get it. Okay, I apologize. Any questions? Mrs. Fisher.
If we do this, how easy is it to get out? Just a quick, we're done, not doing it?
We do have, I will pull that up, cancellation at any time in conjunction with ARS 38-511, which is cancellation of political subdivision and state contracts definition. So yes, we can if we decide not to be partners, and or we're already a member. This would just move us to being a lead district for 1GPA, which means that we would be able to complete solicitations in conjunction with 1GPA, making our solicitations available to other government entities in Arizona. In addition to the cancellation clause, the governing board does still have to approve every solicitation that we do in conjunction with 1GPA. And so you would be the final authorization for each of those solicitations that come through as well.
My concern is just if in the future someone says, we don't want to be doing this anymore, we want to do it differently, is there any penalty? Like if we pulled out of the benefits, you're out for 4 years. 4 years.
There are
There's no
penalties. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Okay. Consent agenda?
All right, I would ask that the governing board approve consent agenda items 7A through N.
I second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mine didn't come up, Mrs. Taylor. Okay. The motion passes 4-0-1. Please go to action item 8A.
All right, I would ask that the governing board approve all employee out-of-state travel per governing board policy GCC.
I second.
Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We ready? I would ask that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve ADM Group as the architect, for portable relocation projects.
I second.
Mr. Miglerino.
President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch, this is a effort that we would like to embark on this summer to be able to relocate. We have 3 modular classrooms that are currently housed and being used at Gavilan Peak School that we would like to redeploy to Terramar, Academy of the Arts, 2 of the buildings to that location, 1 building to Sierra Verde. Part of the reason for considering this move of these particular classrooms is due to the attendance boundaries that the board approved for Inspiration Mountain. We are anticipating that we will need to add at least 2 classrooms, if not 4 classrooms, to the Terramar School for next year. And speaking with the principal, Ms. Sharon Weiser, she indicated that 4 classrooms would be better suited for how she would want to deploy her staffing for next year. We previously had a duplex portable on the Terramar campus several years ago, and it's a little bit easier for them to facilitate having 4 classrooms in one particular area as opposed to just having 2. As we were moving at least those 2, we had previously moved 2 classrooms to the Sierra Verde campus many years ago, and we included a provision to add another duplex building as the need would arise. This campus continues to, meter the number of students on their campus through open enrollment because of space availability. We've gotten a number of open enrollment requests for this campus of late. So we figured if we were moving the 2 buildings to Terramar to address the growth there, we might as well move the other building to Sierra Verde, which was planned some time ago. That'll give us the entire area of the Gavilan Peak campus to be able to clean that area up, so there will be more area for them to have without having the modular buildings be in the way, and it repurposes those buildings for where we think we have the need to deploy them. This particular item before you this evening is to name the architect. We do need to get them involved early because we still have to go through all of the permitting process to be able to consider these moves. We have not received that information. This, again, pending the decision this evening. We do need to act quickly to be able to schedule this summer, and would be anticipating bringing the actual contractor to move the buildings back at the March 22nd meeting, the very next board meeting that we have scheduled, so that we can coordinate this work over the summer, because the contractor and the architect will need to work collectively to be able to provide the information for the permitting process. Again, we have not secured the permits at this point in time, and still need to work out those issues with the 2 different municipalities. We have the City of Glendale and the City of Peoria, 2 different jurisdictions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Mr. Fisher, the total amount that we're approving tonight, is that the 474 plus 36, or is the 36,000 included in the 474?
President O'Brien, the proposal total is $36,761. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Based on a construction estimate, I thank you. So that tonight's approval is for $36,761.
That is correct. And then we just tried to provide what we think the construction cost might be, but that would be brought back at the future meeting that I referenced.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. We have a preview item, the 3-year plan for results-based funding, and for that we have Dr. Tunis.
President O'Brien, members of the board, I think we're going to tag team this. So maybe I'll run the slides, and I can read the slides, and any questions can be answered by Dr. Tunis or Ms. Mock.
Well, I welcome the duo of Mr. Miglerino and, trio, sorry, Mr. Miglerino, Mrs. Mock, and Dr. Tunis. Welcome, all of you, to this presentation.
So do you want to start?
Good evening, President O'Brien, members of the board, and guests. I get to start because the topic that I am most familiar with is first up on our agenda this evening. So first we're going to talk about Arizona Revised Statute 15-249.08, talk about some changes to the original statute, really talk about some of the limitations of results-based funding. That will lead us right into our qualifying and non-qualifying schools and what the statute means for those schools for the current school year and coming school years. And then finally, once we establish that base of knowledge for you, we will talk about our 3-year plan proposal. So there have been some changes over time, not only to how we can spend the funds, but how schools qualify. Results-based funding is for public and public charter schools, and they qualify based on an average passing rate on the Arizona State Assessment relative to the best schools in the state. And for the current year, it is the top 13% of overall schools and their performance on the state assessment. And those top 13% of public and charter schools combined would receive $225 per student. Now, if you have a greater free and reduced percentage on your campus, you do receive a greater amount per student, and that would be $400 per student. And then those schools that schools are public schools or charter schools in the top 27% and 60% free and reduced lunch also receive $225 per student. It's important to note that those percentages change based on the overall pot of funds that are available for results-based funding. And so the $225 and the $400 per student remain steady. And so using those as a divisor basically helps us determine whether it's the top 13%, 16%. So we will see that 13 or 27% change potentially on an annual basis. With that, we'll talk about how we can spend that $225 or $400 per student. These are where we've seen most of the changes. And these items here are the top subsection D, the main paragraph has remained fairly constant, where the majority of the monies, so at least 50.1% of the funds coming in, have to be spent at qualifying schools. And it can be used for salaries to hire teachers, school leaders, classroom supplies, or typically what we tend to use the funds for are trying to sustain the outcomes for the students from that specific school. A portion of the funds can also be used to expand the program to other schools in the district to expand or replicate. If we look at, sorry, I haven't read the exact statute in a while. If we look at items 1, 2, 3, and 4, item 1 is what tells us that the majority has to be spent on the schools that qualify. And I believe for the past 2 fiscal years, Deer Valley has had 12 schools qualify. Prior to that, there was a different funding formula, and it was based on growth. And if that were still the formula, I think we had about 20 schools that year that qualified versus 12. When they reduced it to the top percentage in the current funding formula, we definitely lost qualifying schools, which is what limits us when we get into items 2, 3, and 4. Jim, can we go back up one more, please? Thanks. No, that's okay. Item 2, if we look at providing costs associated with adding seats, this item is specifically only for qualifying schools. For those 12 schools that have qualified for the past 2 years, we could use these funds to add seating capacity at those schools. Items 3, we can mentor school leaders and teachers from other sites to replicate the results and help those other schools reduce the achievement gap. And we can physically expand results-based funding models so we can take the funds, whether it was PLCs, whatever model at the qualifying schools we used, we can use the funds to replicate that model. Here is the fun part with a lot of emphasis on not fun, some subsection E of the statute. Schools that are not results-based funded, when we're trying to replicate the results at those schools, we can only spend the funds at those schools for 3 years. So we are down to only a couple handfuls of schools in the coming years, and we'll see that on future slides as well, where we can continue to spend results-based funding. This is a statute that is more friendly to other types of public schools, certainly not public school districts, where we find it very difficult to equitably distribute the funds in order to recreate the results at schools that have not qualified. The limitations, as we said, the funds can only be spent for those specific purposes that we just noted in the former slides. Greater than 50% have to go to the qualifying schools, so that leaves just under 50% for non-qualifying schools, and of that under 50%, they can only be funded for 3 years, and after that, they no longer qualify. Next slide.
And I think I'm going to take a stab at the history, but I think this is where I might have to lean on Dr. Tunis a little bit. But we started receiving results-based funding starting with the 2017-2018 year, but we didn't actually get the board to approve the first 3-year plan until the fiscal year 20. So we had some accumulation of results-based funding as we were trying to figure out all the nuances of the rules around school-based funding. And I will tell you that was not uncommon. In fact, it's still not uncommon due to all of the statutory requirements for how to spend this money. As Ms. Mock alluded to, it's a lot more complicated for school districts as opposed to those that might be individually chartered as public schools. But nonetheless, it took us a little while to figure out the plan. We've had the plan in place. This is the final year. This year, fiscal year 22, is the final year of the approved plan that the board has approved about 3.5 years ago. We are currently, because that includes this year, doing this to expand our PLC efforts. We're doing a lot of professional development. We have some Tier 3 MTSSS staffing at the 5 high schools included in the current 3-year plan. We have the employee retention payment, and you may recall from just a couple of meetings ago, we did the final board approval for the retention payment. At that time, we said this. We thought this might be the final retention payment from that. In addition to that, we also have 1 day in the certified contract is also funded in the current plan. That includes this plan here. So as Ms. Mock mentioned, the qualifying schools, the ineligible schools are the next hurdle that we have due to the fact that schools can only receive results-based funding distributions or for 3 years. And so we have this list of schools that still continue to qualify because they have received funding within the last 3 years. This is the list of schools that are ineligible because they've received the funds for 3 years without qualifying. We have a list of schools that are still eligible, meaning they qualified within the 3-year period, but unless they qualify in one of the upcoming years, they could become ineligible in that window of time that we're talking about for this 3-year plan. And then we have 2 schools that are not, or non-qualifying is the term that we're using just because of them being the newest schools in our district, Union Park and then Inspiration Mountain. Again, because this plan is for fiscal year 23 through fiscal year 25, we included Inspiration Mountain here as well. So we did a group convene to look at the existing plan, come up with recommendations, and kind of develop the plan for what we are previewing with you this evening. Essentially, there are kind of 3 major components to the plan. Professional development continues to be a consideration in the plan. some program expansion, and we've listed, this is not an exhaustive list, but our Renaissance Gifted program, Bright Child, IB or International Baccalaureate program could be a way of offsetting some M&O costs as well as expanding some of those programs because of the additional staffing needed for those specific programs. And then building expansion, you heard Ms. Mock mention when she was reading the statute, adding capacity is an option to consider. So this is the 3-year plan that we've outlined. Need to get to that slide because I don't know if I'm going to be able to read all of those from here. But so the professional development category at $1.7 million, and you can see the subcategories underneath there. Program expansion at $375,000. Again, that's an offset to the M&O. What might have been helpful to include here is what the FY22 amounts were, because one of the things that was in here is the one additional day for the certified contract was about $650,000. We want to continue the day, but we don't want to include it in results-based funding because of those ineligible schools. So we would have schools that would have an extra day and schools that wouldn't because of their ineligibility. So we want to offset that cost from the M&O. So obviously the $375,000 doesn't cover the $650,000 that I just mentioned, the one-day cost, but we want to absorb that cost in M&O so it'd be consistent, whether they were eligible, ineligible, non-qualifying, or any other category that we may end up with over time. The expansion of building capacity, I mentioned earlier that we're thinking of moving those portable modular buildings to Sierra Verde and Terramar. This is one of the funding mechanisms potentially for that. We also are in the process of expanding at both the Sonoran Foothills and the Union Park School campuses. Because we have about $4 million in the results-based funding account at the beginning of this year, we'd like to spend down those proceeds by funding the expansion of those campuses with results-based funding. And then that would be what I would consider a one-time funding initiative, so $2.1 million for the first year of fiscal year 23 being $4.2 million. The subsequent years are just some inflationary increases in the professional development and program expansion line items without the expansion of the building capacity. And you can see that $2.2 million is about the average of the results-based funding revenue that we've had for the past 3 years, which is the note at the lower left-hand corner. So I think what's important to note in our plan is that the one additional day that was in the plan before is not being funded with results-based funding for consistency. There is no retention or sometimes referred to as loyalty payment that was provided. That was just for reference, about 0.6% was what was, I think, maybe the average over the 3-year plan. And if you're wondering what happened to the 5 high school interventionists, we did also find an alternative funding source for those 5 high school interventionists that were in this initial results-based funding plan, the current plan that we're in. So they didn't go away. We just found an alternative funding source for them. So it is a preview item, and we have shared the plan with our employee groups, so they are aware of it. I will say that they were supportive of doing away with the retention payment because that retention payment has been so divisive. Some people get it, some people don't, based on the qualifying list of positions. And it's not enough money for the challenges that it created, to be quite honest with you. So they are supportive of eliminating the retention payment in the plan for the upcoming 3 years. In their defense, they just received this information last week, the information that we're sharing with you today, and we haven't received any negative input from them, but we will be waiting to hear that because again, this is just a preview item, and we would share any input that they provide between now and when we would ask the board to formally approve this at the March 22nd board meeting. And Dr. Tunis would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, that was so wonderful. Mrs. Mock and Mr. Meglarino and Dr. Tunis, thank you for being with us to answer questions. Board members, do you have questions? Mrs. Paperman.
So I have a question. So what determines an school and not the other schools?
So President O'Brien, Ms. Paperman, that is determined based on the student achievement results. And I think if I go back to this slide here, and again, this is prescribed for us, so this is not something that we determine. So we're not determining their eligibility. The student achievement results and the state determine their eligibility.
Okay, so let's say, for example, Mountain View High School and Barry Goldwater High School, with the demographics of students, so Mountain View will have more achievement than Barry Goldwater, right? So they will be more eligible.
So I think everybody is given the same opportunity, but it's the average passing rate on the state assessment test. The only, I'll say, advantages where they take socioeconomic factors into play is that there's more money provided to those that have a higher free and reduced lunch count. So using the examples that you provided, so Barry Goldwater's free and reduced percentage is much higher than Mountain Ridge's. I don't have those committed to memory. If, for example, their free and reduced percentage was high enough to get into the higher category, they'd get $400 per student as opposed to $225 per student if they both qualified.
Okay. So another question, if you can go back to, I think the $375,000 for programs such as IB. Okay, IB, Renaissance, etc. It would be nice, I would say, if we can fund more for the programs for the students. And another question is expansion of the building capacity. So what does that mean, the 2.1 million?
President O'Brien, Ms. Paperman, so this is to relocate the portables onto the Sierra Verde and Terramar campus. Both Sierra Verde and Terramar are qualifying schools, as is Sonora and Foothills. And one of the provisions in the statute is to be able to add seats at qualifying schools. So since all three of those schools qualify, we would be, and we have plans to expand on those campuses, as we had mentioned. We thought this would be a good one-time use of the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Reed.
Hello. If you wouldn't mind in the Friday update sending us who the committee members were, and maybe how they were chosen, that would be great. And then as far as the program expansion goes, are there any plans? Have you even gotten that far as to what those programs might be and how those would look at what campuses? Are we expanding by, adding another, Renaissance classroom to Highland Lakes, per grade, or are we not even there yet?
President O'Brien, Ms. Reed, I think most of this is really more, and so program expansion may be a little bit of a misnomer. Because these programs require additional staffing beyond, I'll say, what normal staffing might look like. This is really more of an M&O offset with the ability to use some of these funds to expand some programs as well. So it's kind of a combination of both. Again, the M&O offset is to help be able to defer the cost of the 1 day in the contract that was previously funded from the initial 3-year plan. And then additional funds to be able to expand those programs to be able to make sure that there's some offerings. But that is something that either Dr. Galligan or Dr. Tunis have more information about, and we can provide in an update between now and the 22nd.
Okay, I was just curious if there were talks about, what specifically, how it was going to be used so far, or if it's just a kind of a holding place right now.
misread it as partially both. So it's partially a holding place and partially because we're limited to the schools who are eligible for the funds, which has diminished so over the past 3 years. One of the schools that is eligible still is Las Brisas. So when you see Renaissance on there, it is directly related to Las Brisas and the programming that we're looking at to increase enrollment at that school.
Okay, thank you. And then I see the line here for Sonoran Foothills. Are we still using the qualifying contributions a household to offset some of that building capacity, or is that specifically just all going to come from this pot of money?
President O'Brien, Ms. Reed, I think it may be a combination of both at this point, and the contributions, the per unit agreements that we have, we'd like to maybe reserve that if we are able to secure an actual school site to maybe augment the cost of adding another school in the region. Because we think with some of the changes that are coming, even the expansion at Union Park and Sonoran Foothills will not be sufficient to be able to accommodate the number of students between Happy Valley and Carefree Highway on the east side of I-17.
Okay, and then with Union Park, I know that we had previously talked about that we would need to add classrooms there, like you just mentioned, but I don't see anything on here about that. So is that coming from a different pot of money, or is that on hold, or?
We are still planning to expand at both Sonoran Foothills and Union Park. We are considering using an alternative funding source. Namely, that would be a combination of bond proceeds that we have identified for growth, as well as developer assistance fees or per unit agreement fees that we've engaged with developers on. So it'd be a combination of those funds at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Ornoy?
I know that this is our second swing at this plan, but it seems to be more aligned with the rationale behind the results base, because if we are replicating what has worked in our PLCs, that means that we're sharing it across the district, so on and so forth. So I think this plan looks good. And when any more questions that we have specific, perhaps that come to our heads, we'll make sure that we send them to you prior to the next board meeting. And if there's anything else that comes to mind that might not, that we've asked questions or that questions come, if you could throw them in the Friday update, that would be awesome. But this does seem to more align with the reason and the rationale for the results-based funding.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. Look forward to getting some of that more information in our update and seeing you back here later on in March. And with that, we'll start with our governing board reports. Mrs. Paperman?
Mine is short and sweet. I hope everyone have a wonderful spring break next week and rest.
Well, thank you for that. Mrs. Fisher?
Mine was short and sweet last time, so so not this time. First, I want to thank Marie Brennan and the DVEF Foundation, all the wonderful things you do, but that annual golf thing is just so fun. Except for I must not have put my sunblock high enough. I have a little red ring of sunburn right on the edge of my hairline. Anyway, I do. It's really neat when we can see the full process, how you guys raise money and the things you do, and then we see the efforts for you to honor our teachers, and just do good things, just good things for education, good things for good people, and so you are very, very much appreciated, and we all know that it wouldn't happen without you. I mean, I know you have a whole board and stuff, but we know you're the glue. So I just really do appreciate that. I also want to thank our teachers who have been sharing great things about what they're doing and inviting us to some of their arts programs and whatnot. there's so much negative out there with what's happening in public schools, especially in the political arena, that it's just nice to just see those little tidbits of good, because at least I don't get to see them very often, unless a teacher shares. Normally the people who are angry call me. To that point, I do continue to get concerns about the standards-based grading. People are just, I don't know whether they don't understand it or they just don't like it, and they make really good points. So I don't know if the district needs to make more of an effort to reach the parents. I don't know, because that's not something I've worked with before. I can't advise or even really input other than to tell you that I'm still hearing concerns from parents. After the Friday update of 225, I am more concerned than ever about how our parents are treated on campuses. It's, you know, a PTA mom or one who is our committee person, and they're, you know, the one that we turn to for every single question and advice. But if you're the parent who asks questions about curriculum or wants to be involved, you're a problematic parent, and we ban you or move you or remove you. I'm just concerned, and I'm more concerned when I read the update, when I see that there's, you know, we don't find ways to find a solution. We find ways to get our lawyer to say we're justified, and that concerns me. Parents are not our enemies; they're our partners, and these are their kids, and it's a privilege for us to be able to educate them. So I really hope that we don't become like the stewardess on the airlines. You see people getting dragged off the planes, because school districts and schools should never be that way. I've been meeting with teachers and with paraprofessionals. Unfortunately, a lot of the teachers that have met with me have been special education teachers. And they have said that it is their desire to just survive to retirement. I hate hearing that from any teacher. I really do, because they started this with such passion. And especially when you're working with a special needs child, it takes a heart. You just can't, not just anybody can walk in a room and really engage a special needs child. It takes really special people to do that. And I know that with my son, I was blessed to have very many who just had that heart. It was rare that I came across one that didn't. So I have been asking them, you know, why? What is, you know, obviously with the paras, it's been pay. We're paying them so low that it's really difficult when you consider the violence that they face sometimes when it's a disciplinary issue. And then I asked the question, well, we have a level D school and we have level C classrooms. Why is it that you are under such potential attack? And, you know, one of the parents from one school, she said, you know, well, because I'm pretty much the only one on the campus. There's 3 other paras, and they're in the level C classroom that they never leave, and I'm running like a chicken with my head cut off, with everybody saying, you know, I need help here, I need help there, and when I say, you know, hey, I need help with this student, again, I am not supported. So I don't know how we can resolve the issues of actually filling the massive amount of parapros that we have unfilled. It's difficult when we pay them that low, and I don't know an answer, but it's what I'm hearing from the paras. What I found more disturbing is what I heard from the teachers. They said, our students, our special needs students, are now dollars. They're dollar figures. The medically, the level D school, Vista Peaks, is becoming a medically fragile opportunity for us to drive a revenue source into the district. And as a result, we are unable, or it's very difficult for us to get one of our students who is level D to get assessed appropriately and put at that school. We, for a special needs teacher who is I don't know. My son didn't attack people because we extinguish those behaviors, but that takes time and it takes work, and we worked at it. But I don't know what's happening. I can't say. I'm not in the classroom, but I know that these special needs teachers that have come to me, they're one of them. She was just ready to quit completely from all education. She says, if this is what education is, I don't want to do it anymore. If we're not getting the support, we're not getting the support because we can't get this child who really needs the benefit of a school like Vista Peaks into Vista Peaks. What are we to do? So I will put that out there. This is what I've heard from these teachers, and I will ask that we take some sort of action. I don't want a response in the Friday update. I'm not asking for that because the Friday update always paints a rosy picture that does not match what the teachers who have contacted me are saying. So it's very frustrating when you have two different stories. So that's how they feel. My next note is more of a political update. I'm very worried about, and I've told you every single meeting that I'm in. A couple years ago, we had the whole Red for Ed, and Red for Ed spurred the creation of Purple for Parents. Well, Purple for Parents got off their tail this year, and they put forward a candidate for superintendent of public instruction with the sole intent of defunding public district schools. As much damage as possible that she can do, that's what they want. And when you try and reason, you hear, no, I want to defund public schools. They're terrible. When you say, well, we have to have oversight, they say, no, parents can handle it. When you tell them, well, we have kids that don't have parents. We have kids whose parents are on drugs. They don't want to hear it. They don't care. They see the kids that are in their own little lives, and they are quite content. The reason I'm saying this, because I know there are teachers that watch. We have to be vigilant that what we are doing is above board. I have seen in the last 2 weeks multiple teachers, some who really are concerning, that some of the stuff they're doing in their classroom, it is concerning. But then others who are just teaching a viable lesson, and the next thing they know, somebody has recorded a snippet of their lesson. Especially because, guess what? February was Black History Month. So they can very easily take that little snippet and make it look like they're teaching critical race theory when they're really just teaching a lesson for Black History Month. And our teachers, not only Deer Valley, but teachers across the state are targets, and they're getting blasted into social media as if they had done something wrong. And some of them have done absolutely nothing wrong. So I want our teachers to be careful. And I want them to seriously stand up and start thinking about what's happening and paying attention. Because while educators, as far as people in education, are sleeping at the wheel, Purple for Parents is putting up their way to eliminate public districts. Not keep them as a choice, but to override them and make them a redheaded stepchild. And anybody, I know there's people who follow my Facebook to see, that's the whole purpose that I put on there today. I put, if you are one of those people who wants to destroy education, public districts, just unfriend me now, because this is one of the options that is best for most kids, for a lot of kids. And we do a damn good job most of the time. We need to fix the holes, but we can't just destroy it. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think I'll stop with that. The other notes are more of my own emotional, because how honestly pissed I am at some of the stuff I've seen lately. Not from educators, but from people who know nothing about education and want to hurt education. But I do want you to know that even when I disagree with you, whether it's the people in this room or the people out there, our teachers, I do appreciate you, and I understand your struggles. And I know they're real. And in the areas that we have those struggles, or when we do something it's okay to say I was wrong. It's okay to say I messed up, and then move forward and rebuild that relationship. And that's the only way we're going to get past some of this there. So that's my report for today.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Mrs. Reed?
I just want to thank all of the students that came and spoke about the importance of their music education in our district. And one of them talked about being a part of All-State Band, and I want to take a moment and just do a shout out to Mr. O'Halloran, who is the band teacher at Boulder Creek High School. He had the opportunity to conduct the 8th grade All-State Band this week, which is a really cool honor for him and for our district. And I know that's not the only guest, I don't know how to say it, conductorship, or that he's been invited to do this year. So shout out to him. And then funny story, I told Mr. Douglas's choir students that were here, we competed against each other at Jazz Magical festivals up at NAU when we were in high school. And we just realized that when we were talking at the Arizona School Board Association conference. And then another amazing that we have is Mr. McAllister at Bel Air Traditional School. And his dad, Bob McAllister, was my elementary 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade band director, and his mom was my voice teacher and flute teacher. So it's really neat to see, teachers rise up from the roots of where we grew up. So just a shout out to them. And I guess shout out to my kids' music teachers, because they're pretty amazing. My daughter gets to perform at District Honor Band on Thursday night. So I'm excited to go in and watch her do that. I had an opportunity to go to the official ribbon cutting ceremony for Bel Air Traditional School, and that was a long time coming, and I'm so thankful that we were able to do that and to see the amazing community that's been built there. I think one of the neatest things was their habitat for their desert tortoise, and each student and teacher decorated a tile, and then that was put around the brick enclosure, which was really neat. And then also seeing what Miss King is doing with her preschoolers, and the Dr. Seuss garden that they had going. And I know that she's getting ready to add some more garden containers for her students to plant fruits and vegetables there. A couple of requests that I have. Since it is budget season and we're looking at different ways that we can kind of tweak what we're doing, I would like to get some information regarding our gifted education department. If there is a current staffing or org chart that shows who is in that department and which programs they oversee. Also, how many students we have that participate in gifted education. And then the number of gifted education district staff we have compared to our comparable districts that we do our comparisons with. That would be fantastic. And then I'm also requesting some data on our school counselors. I would like to know what our current student to counselor ratio is, not just district-wide, but that broken up into school categories, so K-6, K-8, 7-8, and then high school. And then follow me here, a list of what they do in a day versus what they're supposed to do in a day. Because I know that the middle school counselor at my kids' school is just supposed to be seeing middle school kids, but does an awful lot with some of the lower students also because they have a need for her, and she isn't going to turn down students who need her. So I want to see what our current counselor workload is, and make sure that they're well. I know that their workload isn't appropriate because it's recommended that we have 250 students to one counselor, and I think in the state of Arizona we have like 760 students to a counselor. But and then I think I had asked for, and I can't remember off the top of my head if we had already gotten it, but information regarding standard-based grading. I know that there was a survey that was sent out to parents asking for their feedback. And if I missed that, then I apologize. But if we could get that, if that hasn't already been sent out, and then if there's been any teacher data, if we have polled our teachers to see what's working, what points we need to tweak some of their concerns, I think that would be helpful. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful and safe spring break. I know that I could use a break, and I know that my kids are really looking forward to sleeping in and not having homework. So with that, I will see you guys in a few weeks.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. Mrs. Ordway.
Well, so we did have the student summit. From the student summit, or at the student summit, I met a student whose name is Brendan Salisbury, and I mentioned his name because he is on NPR radio tonight discussing an organization called Bring Change to Mind. At Barry Goldwater, they have a club. It is a mental health club. He was also asked to be the ambassador for a conference in the state of Arizona. So when we have these summits and we wonder, who really is going to get something out of it, these students take it very seriously, and they do. Some of it is a report on what they learned. Some of them will do activities, and then there's others that will make it a sustainable event. So the mental health aspect was awesome, and this is a sophomore, so I look forward to his next 2 or 3 years. But he also made a connection with Wendy Doucette from Deer Valley High School, so she talked to him, so now they're in talks. So our students are looking out for each other as well as us looking for them. In reference to Mrs. Reed, request for the counselor information, the K-6, K-8 schools, I would just like to make sure that, yes, we don't turn, our counselors will not turn any child away, but they do have, I think, a specific workload or group, and if that's incorrect, just put that in there. But they also do talk to the staff. So in addition to the students that they're helping, they're also helping each other out. A district such as ours, with the band and choir, we got to hear some very passionate, heartfelt feelings from our kids tonight. During all of the time that I've been on the board, no matter if we were cutting $70 million or whatever the number was, we made sure that we kept our arts, the fine arts, because our kids needed and still need to have that kind of well-rounded education. Our district proves it over and over again, the community supporting it with bonds and attending all of the different events. So if there was ever a time for anybody to remember that arts are important, it's important to thousands of students in our district, as well as the people that they bestow whatever the art was, their singing, their art, their actual photographs or drawings. So art's important. Our athletics is moving on. We're at the beginning stages again to see if we're going to be state champions in some other aspect. the promotions, the graduations. It's awesome to be able to see all that coming back to maybe how it was and maybe even better now, because people are very thankful to be able to see faces and each other. Not having an amount of tickets that you can have to a high school graduation is awesome. And also for the 8th graders, even though there are some areas that do not consider 8th grade promotion to be awesome, we do. And all we can tell those people is don't do so much at your 8th grade promotion that you're going to have to beat that for your graduation. So that's kind of a family thing if they want to push that, but it's very important for our kids and their families to be able to move from the 8th grade to high school. On that note, somebody write this down because Gail's not here, unless Gary knows or someone else. If we have a student that's in 8th grade that's going to be in 8th grade, that is a walk-up math student, if they are going to attend a high school other than their home high school, are they able to open enroll in the math in the high school that they're going to attend? So say somebody went to Canyon Springs and they're choosing to go to Barry Goldwater, can they open enroll to do their walk-up math into Barry Goldwater as opposed to Boulder Creek? If you could, in general, get that answer, that would be great. We did do the ribbon cutting, watch the kids, listen to them. It's so beautiful to see the principal that's there now and the new principal together. The tortoise habitat was awesome, as was all the gift, but just to see all the smiling faces, they seem like it's going to be all right, and it did take a long time. Marie, I know you're still awake. Your golf tournament, as usual, is awesome. I appreciate being able to come, the camaraderie, and just knowing the money that's made from that and the relationships all pour back into this school district, which helps either teachers directly, which indirectly goes into our students' buckets, or it goes right to the students when they go up in the air to their space camp. So you're awesome all around. Let's see, I had one more thing. Happy spring break and St. Patrick's Day, because we're not going to be here for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Ordway. So they left, or she left, but we did have a senior from Mountain Ridge High School who came. I know, it's a long night. I don't blame her. But she, from Mountain Ridge High School, a government class, got some community service hours by coming to learn a little bit more about what goes on at the school board. And I highly recommend that folks do that, especially our young kids, because, right, your school boards make decisions that impact you quite a bit. And not that all those other elections aren't important, but school boards are pretty important, as we've learned over the last couple of years. So thank you, Tatum, for coming. And Dad for bringing her. We also, I'm going to hit on it again, I know several members have already, but the students who came and spoke about their experience with music in our first half an hour was really incredible, and I should have counted, but we had at least 6 or 7 students from a variety of schools, and some talked about how they believe their music and band experience impacted their academics through being able to now take Algebra 1, 2, and geometry in middle school, to some kids who said it was about the leadership and the skills and experience, to our last young man who talked about finding a friend and a sister that he didn't have in band. So just the wide breadth of experiences and opportunities that kids get. One student actually a couple of them commented about getting into Music Rocks camp as youngsters and finding that passion and carrying it through. So excited that we have such an incredible program for our students, because it impacts them in so many ways, and really do appreciate that they came to spend some of their Tuesday evening to share those experiences with us. That was very meaningful. And I'm going to highlight that we have an A-plus School of Excellence, Mountain Shadows, that we got to honor tonight. It's very, very exciting. We had 2 groups of students from Barry Goldwater High School who took first and second place in Arizona's Pro Start Invitational. If you haven't checked out our Avenue 27 restaurant, you only have a few Fridays left to do it before the end of the school year. So please do so if you get that opportunity. Had a great time at Traditional Academy at Bel Air ribbon cutting. Will echo that it was awesome to see both of the leaders, the leader who has been there for the last couple of years under very difficult circumstances and who is finishing, if I recall correctly, a 40-plus year career in education. So exciting for all that she's done while she's been at Deer Valley, and obviously well-deserved retirement coming her way, and exciting to see our new principal. So thank you to Principal Vivian Hunt, and excited to have Principal Christine Fitzsimmons coming in there. We had an awesome time at the Superintendent Student Leadership Summit. They learned some incredible lessons there as they were sharing on the boards that they got to put up. One of them was, because it was about leadership, and Dr. Finch shared his story about all the places you can learn leadership, as did our music kids at various places. But these kids were learning about helping out in your community, learning about food boxes and picking up trash, fundraising, what it takes to be a leader, being able to listen to your fellow students and learn how to trust and communicate. So it really was incredible seeing all that hands-on learning going on there. So thank you to all who made that happen. The science curriculum options are available online on the front page. So if you scroll down past our icons, there's some pictures. So folks, please go check it out and provide feedback. So that's really important. The golf tournament at Murray Brennan, thank you so much. Charlie Philippik, it was an awesome day again, and we really appreciate all that you do for our students. I enjoyed I even ran into somebody I went to high school with. It was crazy in the golf cart next to me. Fun stuff that you get to do. Let's see, a pop luncheon tomorrow in person. That's so exciting. I can't tell you, I haven't felt so good about what's going on in our district in a really long time. We didn't have good things, but that COVID cloud was hanging over us, and it's nice to know that it's dissipating and going away, and that things are returning to normal. So thank you for all the good news you brought us, Dr. Zerbach, related to that. And I met with Dr. Finch so that we could talk about all the board member agenda requests and get those scheduled over the next few months into hopefully the beginning of the school year. And with that, I'm going to wish everybody a really wonderful, relaxing, and enjoyable spring break. And remember that when we come back, the final quarter of the school year is upon us. Because we're coming back, and that we want to come back rejuvenated and refreshed so that we can finish strong. Dr. Finch, all you.
Yes, I have four short things. Just about a week and a half ago or so in this very room and online, we hosted the state superintendents and when you can do that with technology, you can reach to all corners of Arizona. Pretty excited about that. Miss Sheila cracks the whip in this room, gets them all rolling where they're supposed to be, when. And we have great technology. I want to shout out to Mr. Miglerino, had them foresight 3, 4, 5 years ago to throw it into our bond and spend dollars on upgrading our technology. That's one of the main reasons why they're going to continue next year. So we will continue to be working towards Deer Valley being the epicenter for public school education in the state. Second thing, I did also want to thank the students for that summit, and in particular the staff at Barry Goldwater, the campus staff, the plant foreman, the principal, the cafeteria made lunches for us. So Barry Goldwater staff continue to step up and help us out every time. And it's really turned into a nice summit for about 350 students. And again, we're trying to do the ripple effect into the other 41 schools. The third thing, we just found out today in Miss Monica's report that in cabinet that we are approaching 400 students from TSMC, the 370 something mark. So it's ticking up every day as we know they're coming, ready or not. Here they come, and they are choosing Deer Valley schools, which is another good thing. Last but not least, Our board meeting at the next one, I think the summit kids might be presenting at, so that's good. And you'll probably get your Friday update today or tomorrow. This Friday, probably won't get one during spring break, so you have to come back to the board meeting. You actually have to show up to find out what's happening. And we'll be working over spring break, getting all the things that you might need ready for our next board meeting, which is right after we return. So we'll see you then. Again, yes, we want to thank Marie for a great golf outing and a great intro to spring break. So I hope everyone has a safe and healthy rest. Thank you.
The future meeting dates and times are posted. I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:19.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.